I said, the Cowboys offseason plan is coming into clearer view with their lack of moves. Step one, remove players who have let us down. Retain the ones we want medium to long term. Get the cap and roster flexible for 2023. And I think Stephen Jones' attempt to do 1-10 with Tank Lawrence reflects that mindset. I don't think they're going all out to win in 2022. Maybe that's a mistake. Maybe that's genius. The Saints had to rebuild their cap and their roster for 3 years right in the middle of Drew Brees' prime. This happens to teams. And, if they look around and say, guys, we're barely a wild card team or we won the worst division in football, this ain't it. If you keep throwing more money at that problem, it doesn't go away. You just end up with the same frustrating roster that maybe or maybe doesn't make the playoffs and leaves the fan base, with a feeling that of dissatisfaction. This team hasn't been dominating. What have they made? They've made the playoffs 4 times in a 7-year Super Bowl championship window, never getting past the divisional round. So to me, yesterday or 2 days ago when Randy Gregory slips off the hook, Wolchuk, and their answer is not to go get Von Miller, is not to go get the Arizona pass rusher Chandler Jones. It is instead sort of to do smaller deals that retain their own guys. Mm-hmm. I look at who's available in free agency and I say, well, maybe those guys have more risk because of injury or because of age. If guys are over 30 years old, you're willing to, with Randy Gregory at 29, he's your own guy. But anything that has been disappointing to you or presents significant risk is, something that they don't even want to consider right now. So I'm thinking, man, are they trying to win in 2022? What is the main objective? And when you see guys like Amari Cooper and Lyle Collins go, who have disappointed the staff, it really seems like a cleaning of the decks, a reset of the roster, an elimination of guys that have left us disappointed is more the priority than building the best possible talented roster right now.
And I do think there's a balance there where you can cut the guys and move on from the guys that you feel have disappointed or underperformed for the amount of money that you're paying them. That's fair. But you have all the reason, and I think Cowboy fans do as well, to sit and wonder, is this team trying to win right now? Are they trying to win this year? Because they had options to go out there. You had players that said, hey, we'd like to play for you. Von Miller said, I'd like to play for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the Bills offered him a great deal. Would the Cowboys have offered the same? Probably not.
Probably not.
Would Von have taken less to come to the Cowboys? We don't know. The Cowboys didn't even make an offer, according to Newy Scruggs.
Yeah.
So, it's tough as a Cowboy fan when you look at this team on paper has regressed since the season. They disappointed in the playoffs by being one and done after what seemed like it could be a fairy tale type of year with so many things going right and falling into place. But this does, and we've talked about this, Eric and myself, when we're on at night on the Nosebleed Seats 7 to 11, only live and local nighttime sports show in the Metroplex. This is kind of the Cowboys' philosophy where they don't do anything in free agency. They go ahead with the low-budget, Tier 3 kind of signings.
Where you end up with a Ha-Ha Dix here, a Don Terry Poe there, and then you luck into a J-Ron Curse from time to time.
Right, sure. So 1 out of 6 years, it'll work for you. But the majority of the time it hasn't. Nolan Carroll, for example, doesn't make the roster. Cedric Thornton, another name we can throw out there. And they really kind of seem to put all their eggs in the draft basket. Team building for them is all about let's draft and develop and keep your own.
Yes, but this time they lost one of their own. The response should be, holy cow, we got to activate and get somebody else.
Amen.
Instead, it's back to the same old stuff.
It's maddening.
Maybe there is no big picture strategy to this. They just got caught with their pants down and not having options because they don't work hard enough. I don't know which one it is. Either they accidentally have no backup plan after losing Randy Gregory, or they're looking at it and saying, well, there's nobody out here that we feel great about building around long term, so we might as well wait to spend this money next year.
Yeah, or, they could probably also think that they really thought that Randy was going to get done.
Yeah.
And then, what's the backup plan? Wait a minute, the guy, we thought the guy was going to get done. We had a deal.
Yeah.
What backup plan? But I kind of feel like that the Cowboys could look at this and say, maybe Dan Quinn does step in and say, hey, I was with Fowler. Last year I gave you a couple of guys. You guys trusted me on these guys. I think this Fowler guy can help us. I'll tell you how he can help us. The coaches can go in there and sell Jerry and Steven and Will on the idea of, hey, George Edwards was with Curse. Somebody had to stand in there, and it was George that told, the front office, this guy's kind of can do this. So I maybe the backup plan is Dan Quinn or coach comes in and says, hey, let's do this guy. He'll come on a cheap deal with us, 1 or 2 year deal. We can maybe work with him. That's going to be their backup plan. Or the backup plan is, let's just go work on this draft.
Chief, last hour you said, if you have a franchise quarterback, you're going for it every year. If you're not going for it right now, considering coming off a 12-5 year, I don't know if you believe in that backup quarterback. Maybe you're setting people up to take the fall. You've so far taken away his tackle and his wide receiver, and you're not spending any of this money to make his offensive line better so they can run the ball that was clearly causing him major problems last year.
Right. Like if I'm Dak, I'm looking around going, what's the deal here? And if I'm Mike McCarthy, I'm looking around thinking kind of the same thing. And when you talk about teams like maybe the Saints who had to reset a little bit and have a year or two where they know they're not going to be very good and then they get back into the game, but their salary cap situation was completely effed up.
They nuked it. That's what Sean Payton does.
Yeah. And so
they had to cut half their team.
The Cowboys aren't there right now. Like they're in the green. They're sitting at 26. They just get another $10 million after June 1st with the La'el Collins thing. It's not like they're looking around going, oh my gosh, we've gone so hard in free agency. We've done all these big things. We've been throwing money around left and right. It didn't work. So now we have to kind of tear things down. They're sitting there in a prime position. Like they shouldn't be tearing it down right now.
No, they shouldn't.
It does, at least from our vantage point, right? I mean,
it doesn't seem like this is the year when you have a fan base that is more angry and irritated right now than I think in recent memory in an offseason.
You're still in the worst division. You still should be looking around going, man, we are, like, all we got to do is get on a nice run when we get to the playoffs because we're going to get there.
And you look at your conference, and there's really only 2 teams on paper right now that you'd say
I would say 3. With the Rams. The Rams, the Packers, and the
Bucks. Okay, the Packers.
But still, it's still like, come on.
But you're right in the you get a couple of bounces your way, and these are teams that you played with last year. The Bucks, you were in that game and you almost could have won it if a call goes your way.
Man, how far have we come since Thursday night NFL opener in Tampa? We go toe to toe with the champs, and then oh my God, everything that's happened since has just been.
Really, since the overtime win against New England, the CeeDee Lamb walk-off. It's really kind of been disastrous.